Greetings, everyone. My name is David McLeod. I am your life mastery coach, and I want to welcome you to Magnificence in Motion. This is my monthly, actually semi-monthly program with all kinds of interesting topics with people who are in the know about things that help us to know ourselves more deeply as who we really are. Now, one issue that I have seen come up for a lot of people is this idea of self-doubt. It can be a sneaky saboteur. It masquerades as caution, and then it quietly drains your momentum. We've all experienced it. Looping thoughts of, who am I to do this? Or what if I mess it up? You know, that nudge, that just little push, that quiet little looping, talking voice there that nudges us to over-prepare, delay decisions, and maybe second guess even our strengths. Maybe you even compare yourself. But the problem is when we compare ourselves, we're almost always choosing their highlights and comparing ourselves to the best parts of them and downplaying our wins or shrinking our voice in rooms where we don't belong or where we really do belong, but we tell ourselves we don't. It can be exhausting. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, this idea of how self-doubt can bring us down. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring ourselves to a place where we can move into a place of self-confidence. And to help me do that, I've invited back my good friend and colleague, Maggie Sarfo. She's an international best-selling author. She's a TEDx speaker, and she's CEO of her own company called Maris Consult. So please join me in welcoming Maggie Sarfo to the show. Maggie, it's so great to have you back. It's been way too long.
Thank you, David. It's always a pleasure to be here. And hello to everyone who's listening and watching.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about, because this is really, 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 really important. I know you just published a brand new book, and I'm afraid I don't have my copy yet, but I'm looking forward to getting it. So tell us a little bit about this book and what it's all about.
Thank you. So the book is called The One Secret to Happiness. And every time I say it, people go, what's the secret? I'm like, you've got to find out. But essentially, you know, it's a labor of love, you know, from stories from my personal growth clients and part of my own story as well. It's about how it's important to live life to the fullest by bringing all aspects of the self into balance. And so we look at, you know, for those of you who may be familiar with my my program called the CreateBalance program, which is both a healing and a mentoring program, we talk about the four aspects of the self: emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. And so the One Secret to Happiness shares a top level of that modality, because I strongly believe in our own ability to heal ourselves or bring ourselves back to where we need to be to experience consistent levels of happiness. So we're not talking about that happiness where, you know, you get fleeting kind of happiness and it goes away. I think that happens when we are kind of outsourcing our happiness to some external circumstance that might happen. Whereas with the kind of happiness we're talking about here, you tap into your innate happiness, and that comes about because you are able to bring the four aspects of the self into balance, or at least you're aware of it. And so when something is happening in your external environment that you don't like, because life happens, we know that it's life happening, but we know that that doesn't mean that you are, you know, you are deprived of your innate happiness. So returning back to the inner self in that balanced state will always ensure that no matter what happens on the outside, your happiness remains intact within yourself, and you can deal with the outer elements even better. It also means that when you experience the outer levels of happiness, it's even more consistent because you are with it, if that makes sense. So that's what the book is about. It's available on Amazon and other places, Barnes & Noble, and yes.
Well, that's awesome. And congratulations. I'm so proud of you for getting that book published. Why don't you, I'm sure you have a link here that will take people to the appropriate places that they can go, and, you know, drop that link into the chat. And tell us a little bit about the link, because I know this is a link tree thing. So explain where that's
It is.
going.
Yeah. So to keep it clean is one link. But what I probably didn't let you know is that it's not the same book. We have the One Secret to Happiness, and then we have the Happiness Journal. So the journal essentially is a sequel to the book, because the book is not necessarily the one you lie on the beach and read, although there are parts of it which goes into a fiction mode. We talk about a central character called Akiko and how she goes on her journey to discover this innate happiness. But most of the book is about, really sitting down, intuitively sensing where each aspect of the self is in terms of the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, and then asking yourself to heal you back into that place of balance. And
Right.
so you may need somewhere to journal your experiences, and that's where the journal comes in, with beautiful pictures. And so for some of you, you will use them together. But for others, they may just grab just the journal, because on its own, the journal can be used as well. It's got little snippets and quotes from the happiness book, but it's pretty much a standalone. So the link will have links to buying the book on Amazon. If you're in the US, you have the US link. If you're in the UK, you have the UK link. If you happen to be any other part of the world, just type the One Secret to Happiness in your Amazon link, and then it will come up for you. And then with the journal is just a journal. It's just a link for it to come directly to me. Beautiful. And then I'll be able to ship it over to you as well. It's currently with Lulu Press and is going global.
Nice. I love this idea. I think, first of all, I think I know what the one secret to happiness is, but I'm not going to spill the beans because, well, you and I know each other, so we've spoken a lot. Yes. But I love the whole project idea, the idea of a book and a journal to go with it. I'm doing the same thing with my own book that's going to be coming out in April, but it's actually three parts. I've got the main text, which is going to be pretty cool. And then I've got a journal, which is separate from that. And I've got a collection of aphorisms and affirmations, which is available as a separate book as well. So, yeah, when you talk about a labor of love, I think that's really what it is. You and I have both found ourselves with a purpose of trying to help people find out the truth of who they really are. And you talk about these four aspects of the self, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Well, I talk about that in exactly the same way, although I may use slightly different terms. I mean, I talk about heart, body, mind, and soul. I talk about my four archetypal energies that, that are associated with those components. But it boils down to the same thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely, I think it's wonderful that two of us coming at this from two different perspectives, sharing our own wisdom in our own way to the world, and hopefully doing our little part to help heal the world and to bring more happiness everywhere.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely. I mean, every time I talk to you, David, it's like, David is so much like me. And yet, we have different ways of explaining the same thing, but it goes to show how different voices need to express the same thing in different ways, because different people hear things different ways. And it's all part of the oneness collective energy, and it's very beautiful.
It is. All right. So obviously, the idea that there's one secret to happiness might throw some people off.
Yes.
And they might say, "Oh, you got to be kidding. There can't just be one secret. There's got to be more." I'm in doubt about what you're talking about. So this is what happens. We'll say something, or somebody will say something, and I'll have this story in my head. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Yes. I don't agree with that. That doesn't work for me. Blah, 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 blah. So self-doubt starts almost instantly when somebody is saying something that we find maybe doesn't resonate exactly the way we hope it does. Yeah. So what do you do in that case when you have someone, a client or a friend or whatever, who's expressing this self-doubt? What do you do to try and get him or her to find that balance?
Mm. Well, I think that, self-doubt is something that we find ourselves in. I, I want to say majority of the time, but maybe not majority of the time, but it's more when we come into contact with situations or concepts or experiences that goes against the grain for us, and we all come with levels of beliefs or perhaps conditioning or knowing. I mean, and knowing is everything that you have touched and experienced before. And sometimes if something is trying to get in, to I don't know if you when you come into contact with something that is a bit foreign to what you used to, um because it's not normal to you, and the definition of normal is what you used to, right? And so it takes some getting used to something before you can recognize that as as something that you want to be a part of, or you want to believe, or you want to say is your truth. And at the end of the day, your truth will always be your truth. So I think in most instances, when you are affronted by something that goes against the grain for you, is an opportunity for you to pay attention. And a lot of the time, moments of self-doubt are about opportunities for us to pause, to reflect, maybe to question what we've always believed to be true, and to really look at this other piece of experience or other piece of information from a different lens. And then, of course, pass it through our own context, but see it from other people's point of view. And most of the time is an opportunity for us to see things in a way that helps us recognize things that are not as they seem, but also maybe look at things in different ways. And other times it's about just acknowledging that maybe you have to agree to disagree. But I will say self-doubt is not a limitation. Most of the time it's a signal for you to wake up and look at things differently. Most of the time is an opportunity for you to upgrade as well.
Yeah, I like that. I think, well, first of all, you mentioned that normal is nothing more than whatever you're used to. That's an
Yes.
interesting perspective on that idea of normal. Obviously, in our culture, we tend to apply that word normal to entire populations of people. And,
Yes.
I think that's insanity, really, because there, even though you might average things out, it doesn't mean that everybody fits into that normal that you're describing. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, just to give you an example, I remember, reading an article about the brain. Your brain does this and this and this and this and this. And I said, how do you know my brain does that?
Exactly.
That's what
Mine does.
happened. Yeah, I said, you don't know my brain. You know some brains that you've looked at, and most of them came out of dead bodies.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Mm.
suppose you've been doing some MRI stuff and maybe other stuff, and you've looked at brain waves and you've made some conclusions. But how does that mean that I am this way?
Mm.
And so I
Mm.
really dislike that word normal. I don't like it at all. I
Yeah.
try not to use it in
Yeah.
my own conversation.
Yep.
Um,
It's what you used to, and anything that you're not
right.
used to for you is not normal.
That's
And so
right.
you
Yeah.
question why someone else will feel it's normal. Yeah, it might be normal to them.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so the other thing that you were saying was about this whole idea of self-doubt being some kind of an activator, a signal, a
Yes.
reflection
Yeah.
opportunity. I
Yeah.
like that idea too, because I mean, well, we all have plenty of opportunities to engage self-doubt and to listen to the voice that's talking in our head that says, "Oh, you're not good enough. You're never going to succeed." This or whatever.
Mhm.
All of which is, to coin a technical term, is bullshit. Anyway,
I like
yeah, it's
that.
it isn't true. It's just your ego mind trying to protect you in its own absurd way, using outmoded information that's mostly based on past experiences. And just because a past experience went a certain way doesn't mean a current experience is going to go the same way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even think about this. Even our financial guys tell us past performance is no indicator of future whatever results. You know, so they try to remind us of that fact.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It's a great opportunity. Okay, I'm having this questionable moment in my mind. My mind's telling me these things. Is there any truth to any of this? Is there something I can learn from this? It sounds like it's an opportunity for deep introspection. So what kind of questions do you encourage people to ask themselves when this sort of thing happens?
I think it brings you to really question what is in front of you or what you're experiencing at the moment. And also, like you said, go back to the past. But again, being able to, there's a term that we use more often these days, reframe it, right? Just because, say you want to go on stage and maybe you've been on the stage before and it didn't go as planned. Maybe the nerves were just too much and someone said, oh, you will be able to go on this bigger stage. And you go, who? Well, not me, right? That's your doubt coming in because it doesn't. But then it's a knock on your heart. It's your bigger self saying, hey, it's time to level up. You ready? And you're like, no, according to my past, I wasn't ready even for that small stage. How can I be ready for this big stage? I would say reframe it and ask yourself, or reframe it and say, that was then and this is now. That was then and this is now. Because, people tell you we're always changing, the cells in our bodies are always changing. So something that happened in the past, like you said, the financials even tell us, it's not a prerequisite, or it's not necessarily always a determining factor in terms of what will happen. And then bring yourself back to your present. It's always important. Be in the present state and ask yourself, in an ideal world, what would you like to experience? Because you will find that, like you said, self-doubt, it could be an element of your ego. It could be an element of fear, right? But if you're saying, oh, okay, well, this is just because I am putting these boundaries around me, then this doubt is to enable me to see things for what they are. And what if I go beyond this boundary? And what if I go beyond it and I don't fail, right? And so ask yourself those what ifs, right? And step into the bigger you, because we are always shifting. And the reason why you may have been affronted with this self-doubt scenario is an opportunity to rise above it. And because, of course, I mean, if you're staying in that self-doubt mode, we know what that is. That is you staying here and going, I can't do that. And nothing is shifting, right? You just know that, but what if you could? That you don't know yet. And I think it's always good to use that self-doubt to propel yourself forward into that unknown, which could be exciting.
Right. I think this is great. One thing that I like to tell people or remind them of is I say, look, here's where you are today. Just look at that, where you are today. And consider all the things that happened to you to get to where you are today. You confronted all kinds of obstacles, blockages, self-doubts, you name it. All those things happened back then, and somehow you got through them.
Yeah.
You have, if you think about it, a 100% success rate in defeating your demons and getting past your obstacles.
Yeah.
What makes you think you can't get past this one? What makes you think that is this crazy loop that's going on in your mind, and it has no basis in reality. So I encourage you to just remember how many successes you've had in your life, and how many risks did you take in order to have those successes. This is, sometimes people forget all that, and they're only concerned about this one tiny little fear that they have right now, and they forget about all the big fears that they've gone through before and managed to get through. So it's fascinating to me, and so that's a great thing to remind people, because here you are now. Yep, you got some fear going on, and that's okay. But you can see, looking around, that there's no imminent danger.
Yes.
You know, you're not being threatened in any way. There are no saber-toothed tigers out there.
No.
Everything that's happening is happening up here, and
Yeah.
maybe a little bit in your gut right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the question is, what do you want to do about it? Yeah.
Exactly. And they say over 90% of the fears that, you know, or the worries that we kind of get our mind to entertain us with, they never come true. They never do.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's closer to 99%.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
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 You're absolutely right. And so getting past the initial fear is the first step. And you can't get past it until you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to acknowledge it, be aware of it, and you can say, "Oh, wow, look at that. Fear is visiting me today. Hi there, fear. How are you doing?"
Yes.
Have a nice little conversation with it and find out what it's all about. You know?
Yeah.
And say,
And then
what is it you're here to tell me today? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like how, David, you kind of dissociating fear from you. So you can have a conversation with fear. And some of the shadow work that we do, when you have something that you want to overcome, is always better to kind of dissociate yourself from it, personify it, and have that conversation, because it does put things into perspective. And if in doubt, why don't you write that down? Because that also helps really to bring it back into reality. Yeah.
Well, and not only that, I mean, it certainly does help when you dissociate it like that. First of all, it reduces its power almost immediately.
Yeah.
You're bringing it into the light and you're saying, "Hey, what are you doing here? What's your purpose here in my life right now?"
Yeah.
And if you can have a little bit of fun with it, that also disempowers the fear a lot. And what you're doing, you're bringing yourself back into a state of happiness and joy and presence. And that helps you to, just simply diffuse the fear. You can do this with pretty much any emotion that you're feeling, by the way. It doesn't have to be fear.
I agree. And normally I just say, it's about, because again, is this self-doubt, this fear is your bigger self trying to encourage you to step into this new self of you. And then, of course, your other self that's been with you along this journey up until now, trying to protect you, with the mind firmly intact, right? And so you can just encourage this other self to come along this journey for the ride, just for the fun of the ride, right? Just say, we're not going to die, we've done it before, we never die, just, and just encourage this other self, because you have to look at this in a very compassionate way, because this self that's always been you up until now, that's all she knows, or he knows, or they know. And so it's about being compassionate, understanding their point of view, and encouraging this other self to come along to that journey whilst you allow the bigger self to step in. And I think doing it in a humorous way and in a compassionate way helps you to kind of release yourself from any stiffness that's going on as well. Because most of the time when we experience fear or self-doubt, we start to contract and constrict ourselves, and all of that add to the tension and everything that's going on. You're releasing it with some humor and some compassion, say, let's go along the journey for the fun of it. And hopefully that fear will ease itself out, because now it becomes excitement. And someone said, fear is excitement without the breath, someone said before.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So then when you are really scared of something, most of the time you might realize that you're holding your breath as well. But try deep breaths, and then you could, once there's more kind of breath in your body, you could see it in a different way, and that could be this adventure, this excitement that we're just going to go along. So yeah.
All right. Well, something else that just came into my mind as you were speaking, you said, we've had this experience before and we didn't die. We're probably not going to die now. I think that's a great reminder. I'd like to amplify that a little bit. sometimes, and this thought just occurred to me, I've never actually tried it, but I'm going to try it one of these times. If I die, will I want to die without having tried this?
Powerful one.
I mean, we're all going to die sooner or later. So I look at it that way now, and I'm thinking maybe I can start bringing that in as a practice. If I were to die today, would I be happy with all the things that I've tried? Is there something I haven't yet tried that I want to do before this event happens?
Yeah. And so then life is this perpetual adventure then from this perspective, right? You are just going through the experiences. And I strongly feel that that's what we're here for. We're meant to live life to the fullest, and obviously trying to constrict yourself and not going for stuff means that you are actually not experiencing life to the fullest. Right. So yeah.
And I think one of the things that I have come to learn over the course of my 72 years on this planet is nothing is more important than knowing, expressing, and experiencing the truth of who you really are. Really, there's nothing more important than that. Now, some people might say, well, there's lots of other things that I think are more important, but ultimately, all of them boil down to that same thing. Is knowing, experiencing, and expressing the truth of who you really are. If you're not doing that, then you're just not living, really.
Yep. And most of the time, then you're living on someone else's ideal of who you are, who they'd like to be for them. And then you come back to that innate self that is consistently unhappy because it's not doing that thing within it that helps it to experience that consistent levels of happiness. And it's about that. It's about knowing who you are and being true to who you are and experiencing life in a way that matches that alignment.
Exactly right. And so the other thing that people need to understand is happiness doesn't mean that life is all, roses and bubbles and all that. Not at all. Happiness just means that you can stay grounded and centered no matter what's going on around you.
And you've read my book.
Well, I maybe you quoted me.
Who knows? What a revelation.
Well, we're all one, so it doesn't matter. But my point is that this is a real deep truth that a lot of people don't necessarily understand. And I think it's really important. Happiness is the state of being that you're in. It has nothing to do with external circumstances. If you're depending on external circumstances for happiness, then you're not really happy. You are just an addict trying to get your next fix. That's what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, that was probably a harsh thing to say, and some people are probably going to be pissed off at me for saying it. But I really do believe that's the truth.
It is. Yeah.
I like this, a nice pause to let it sink. So now what we're trying to do here today is we're trying to help people move from self-doubt to self-confidence. We've already talked about maybe paying attention to that voice, listening to what it has to say. And you talked about reframing, which I think is a powerful, powerful thing. And that's, something that I'd like to actually talk a little bit more about reframing. What does that really mean? I want people to understand it because it's a powerful tool that you can have in your toolbox. Give me an example of how you might help someone reframe something.
So it's about looking at things in a way that empowers you, that brings you back to who you are. So if I use that example of, say, going on stage and maybe your doubt of, well, but I'm not a speaker, or I don't think, who would want to listen to me, right? Your reframe would be, well, maybe you have a message within you that you only can deliver. And there are people waiting to hear that message from you. So who are you not to go and deliver that message? Who are you to prevent other people from hearing that.
I love it. So you went from who am I to deliver this message to reframe it. Well, who are you not to because of these and this and this and this? I think that's beautiful.
Mm.
So get over your damn fear and get up there and tell the people what they need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Exactly.
we are expressions of what needs to come through us, especially in opportunities where we get to speak. Like we are expressions of what comes through us. And so when we get out of our own way, what needs to come through us goes through us to then, go into the world and do its job.
Right. That's powerful. I think so. So the idea of a reframe is to take whatever message you're hearing right now, transform it so that it becomes a self-empowering message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That it supports you to know, express, and experience the fullness of who you really are.
100%. And how you test this is look at the initial phrase, which is causing the self-doubt, and ask yourself, how do I feel about this? And if the emotion is not something that's pleasant to you, then ask yourself, how would I want to feel instead?
I like
And
that.
see how you can reverse that into something that makes you feel good.
Right. So you're using, I like this because what you're quietly and very subtly doing here is showing us how to bring all the four different aspects of ourselves into play simultaneously. So we talked about the thought, which is up in the brain and mind, whatever. And now we're talking about transforming the emotion. Now, what about the spiritual side? Let's bring the spiritual side into this as well. And then, of course, we'll talk about the action last.
Yes. So the spiritual side of this would be, like in a way, I hinted at that by saying, we are expressions of what comes through us. Yes, we are living in this physical body, but we are expressions, right? And so a lot of who we are, who we become, what we do, they are all forms of expressions that come through us, right? And so the spiritual aspect of us is that which allows the thinking and the feeling and the action to actually gain potential. So for instance, I do some work around values with some of my clients, and there is a category that is classified. So we're looking at what makes people thrive. And there's a category that is classified as being able to live an extraordinary life. And that is always attributed to the spirit. And so you can live life, in a good way. If we were to look at the emotional, the physical, the mental, you could live life reasonably well. But when you add the spirit, that activates you to the next level, that enables you to experience life in extraordinary ways. And so when we talk about being extraordinary, you definitely need the spirit, right? So for instance, coming back to the example of someone who's been asked to go and speak and going, who am I to, right? As they are able to transform that thought and then go, who am I not to? And they deliver this message, they express, or whatever it is, they entertain people, whatever it is they're doing on this stage. Think about the ripple effects of whatever they did on that stage, right? Even if they fumbled, think about what that helps someone else in that audience to say, he was on that big stage, he fumbled. That means I can do it, right? So what we do with the help of the spirit, it ripples out into the world in a big way. And it doesn't matter, that little thing you're doing. You are a mother, you bringing a little baby into the world, you are raising this child to become who they need to become. Just the fact that you are facilitating that, you are bringing something extraordinary into our world. And what does it mean? If you keep looking at that way, then you enable extraordinary things to happen in the world.
Right. That's beautiful. And I know that some people may not buy into the whole spiritual realm.
Yeah.
But what you can ask yourself is, maybe you believe that there's a higher version of yourself, a higher self that you can refer to. It doesn't have to be a spirit, it doesn't have to be God, it doesn't have to be any of that stuff. Just imagine, what would the best form of me tell me to do?
Exactly.
You could do it that way and not feel quite so caught up in the whole spirituality stuff if that doesn't resonate for you.
If it doesn't mean anything to you. You know, when we talk about presence, it's that intangible. So I always say the spirit is that intangible aspect of us that accompanies the mental, the physical, and the emotional. So it's intangible, but when someone comes to sit in the room, their presence kind of facilitates what's going on.
Right.
And that's it. That's that. Is that intangible aspect of us that is always within us.
Yeah. I mean, so everybody's going to be at a different place in their world. We're just trying to bring you tools here that help you to be as much of yourself as you can possibly be, and then some. Find that way to expand beyond your current, whatever beliefs you have about your limitations. And, you know, we talked earlier about the self-doubt, how it might keep you stuck in this place that we sometimes call the comfort zone, right? Well, the comfort zone, nothing really grows in the comfort zone. And so if you really do want to grow, you might have to slip a hand or a leg outside that comfort zone just a little bit. It's like sticking your toe into the water just to make sure that, just a little bit. That's all. And once you've done it once, the second time gets easier. The third time gets easier, and so forth. And pretty soon, what you find is that comfort zone is growing. It's expanding because you keep pushing that boundary outward and becoming more of who you really are. There's always going to be a comfort zone around you. There's going to be something there, a boundary beyond which you're not quite ready to go past just yet. You know, and you may not even be aware of that boundary, and that's okay. That's okay. But one day something's going to happen, and you're going to say, "Oh, I see. I've got a boundary over here. I wonder what that's all about." And you're going to be doing exactly the same thing that we're doing now with the self-doubt. You're going to say, so that boundary is keeping me from what? X, Y, Z. What is it? Do I want X, Y, Z?
Yeah. Think about your desires. Again, the reason why you desire something is because we are meant to experience life, you know, to the fullest. And every time you have kind of experienced your life to a certain level and you're ready for the next one, you will have the desire for the next thing. And and don't stop yourself from doing it, because it is fun.
This process of moving from one level to the next level, whatever that might look like for you, is something I call transcendence, because you're going beyond your current level and just moving to the next one. And it's a natural progression for you. It may look different than the natural progression for me or the natural progression for Maggie, but it is going to be a natural progression for you. And it will also operate on a different time scale. Maybe yours will be faster. You know, for some people, I really wish that would be the case. But that's life, right? That's what we're doing. So let's talk now about this idea of, we've talked a lot about, you know, the reframing, bringing the emotion into it, and even bringing the spirituality into it. Let's talk now a little bit about, nothing happens until we take action. So, but you don't have to have the building built in the next 5 minutes.
No.
First, let's put the blueprints together. But take it step by step. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
So I think, yes, we can talk about the mental and the emotional and even the spiritual for as long as we want. But At the end of the day, we are on this physical planet called Earth, and our physical bodies are what enables us to experience life to the fullest. And so for every desire, after processing it, after feeling it, after bringing in, our presence, we need to take action with the body. And like you said, David, it can be one step, one foot in front of the other. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but you need to take that action. And you may hear people talk about embodiment so much these days, is because it's important, because we live with this physical body. And if we want to experience life in the way we want, everything we want is done with the physical body. So you have to bring what you are conceptualizing into the physical body by taking the action. And the action, that embodied action, is what takes you there. What does that look like? Because not all of it is as tangible as we think. So, for instance, me speaking with David now, I need to not just listen and be ready to speak. I need to listen with my whole body if I want to experience it fully. And so that is called embodied listening. When I'm taking action to then go on that stage that I was talking about, from self-doubt to actually going on that stage, you need to then go, okay, well, maybe I need to contact this person organizing it then, now that I've really decided I want to go out of my comfort zone. You need to take that physical action. Then you need to practice that speech, or practice that joke that you're going to deliver on the stage, or practice whatever it is that you will be doing on that stage. But the more you practice, the more your body starts to recognize that is the new you, right? That is the you. And then it starts to move in that direction, and other opportunities start to line up, because the universe or anything, or the powers that be go, she's ready. She's stepping into the self that was calling her. And so again, you have to take that action. In the book, I talk about, so I mentioned Akiko. So towards the end, somehow, even though the book is non-fiction, towards the end, I go into this fictional mode where I talk about creating our desired life experiences. And that is pure embodiment. And I introduce a concept called REAP, REAP, where R is for receiving, E is for embodying that which we've received, this thought, this idea that I want to experience this. And then A is for taking that action. And then P is for pleasure. Allow yourself to enjoy. I was talking earlier about that constrictedness that comes from fear and self-doubt. As you start to enjoy your moment, you will find that everything is flowing to you more freely because you are relaxed, and that's important. And that's what action is about.
Right, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. And so we've been talking about some things like, going on stage or doing anything, but really,
It can be anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say you have this dream. I don't know, maybe you want to write a piece of fiction, I don't know, a murder mystery. You want to write this, but you've never done it before, but you've always been fascinated by this. What does it mean to take action? Let's suppose that you've gone through the process and decided, yeah, I really want to do this. It doesn't matter about publishing. You're not thinking about publishing right now. You're just thinking about writing. And then you sit down to try to write and you say, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to write this? And so again, that self-doubts are creeping in one more time. So what can you do? You just reframe, continually reframe. Okay, yeah, it's a big job. I have set myself this task of writing a book. The book is not going to be finished today. But maybe today I can write a paragraph. Maybe today all I need to do is flesh out 3 or 4 of the characters in my story. Maybe today I need to do a bit of an outline. What's the story about? It's a murder mystery. So who gets killed? Why? What's the motivation? You think about all those things, and how can I weave that into a story that only the clues are given out little bit by little bit. Before you know it, you're thinking about all the different things you can do to make this a fun experience for yourself. And that's what Maggie was just talking about. making it enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever task you set for yourself, remember, you're still going to always have to take that first step. And that first step doesn't have to be the entire thing. That first step can be one tiny little baby step.
Yeah.
It can be a 10-minute thing that you do that moves you towards your goal. That's all it needs to be.
Yeah. And I want to add the importance of being intentional with that baby steps that we're taking as well.
Right.
For instance, of course, we have life in addition to, say, writing the book, right? Not many people are paid fictional murder mystery writers, especially when you're starting out. So you getting up, going to work or whatever, going to visit friends or whatever you're doing in your day, be intentional about it. I want opportunities to come to me today that will trigger something for me to add a 10-minute, script to my book when I come back.
Right.
And just go and see what happens, because you will experience that intention one way or the other. Yeah.
Well, and as you were saying that, I'm thinking, all right, yes, you're absolutely right. I have to go to work. I have to do this job. I have to do these things. But throughout my day, I'm going to be having interactions with people. And sometimes somebody's going to say something that's going to sound perfect for one of my characters.
Yes.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Write it down and keep notes, because it's what you've done is you've now opened the floodgates for this thing to happen, and all this stuff is going to start coming to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a magical thing, this whole universe that we have. So think about those things and take advantage of them and have fun with your journey.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That fun piece is very important. We just get too serious about stuff. And life is not.
And then what's also really cool about this is partway through the journey, no matter what the journey might be, you're going to look and you're going to say, wow, I still got a lot to do. Look at all these things I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you, when that happens, that's a more self-doubt coming up.
Yeah. Just
pause. It's like, it's kind of, you're climbing a mountain, right? And you think, oh my God, there's so much mountain left to climb. Well, stop. Stop. Turn around and look down and see how far you've come up the mountain so far.
Yes.
And give yourself credit and say, wow, that is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. And then when you turn back to climb again, you'll suddenly realize it's not as big as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
By the way, what I'm just doing there, that's my way of reframing things.
Mm. It's a good way, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think as you was talking, David, I'm thinking you are reinforcing the idea that this is always a cycle. Every time you come into a self-doubt situation, look at it as a cycle. And what does a cycle look like? So yes, the doubt comes in, you reframe it, you take the embodied action and remember to enjoy your success.
Right. Enjoyment comes from just simply acknowledging, I'm having fun here. I'm having fun here. It's hard work and I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, so at the beginning, you talked a little bit about your book and the journal. I know that journaling is an important part to you. So talk a little bit about how people can use journaling as a process of moving away from self-doubt and more towards self-confidence.
I think journaling is so important, and it doesn't matter what you call it. But I find that as a thought comes in, as you feel something, being able to hold a pen, or you might choose to do it on your phone, it doesn't matter. But being able to, I prefer writing it by hand. But when you do that, as you start to write, it's your embodied process. You bringing it from the head, from the heart into the body, and you signaling to the body that you want to experience this. Now, in that process, if there is a release of the doubt that needs to happen, it is happening as you're writing it. And then as you reframe that activation of the new self and what you're stepping into, you are embodying that as well. I see that all the time with my clients, with my own self, and I feel that whenever we are able to put things on paper, it's like half of the hurdle. You are saying that I'm bringing this into the physical body, and that is when the opportunity starts to show up as well, because you have taken it from the ether, so to speak, transferring it from the mind, and now you are in the body. You bringing it to the legs, the hands, the legs, where you take in the action, and the earth cannot but meet you halfway. And that's where you start to experience what you want to experience. And there's a lot of neuroscientific research that proves the importance of journaling, that connection of the mind and the body and the heart coming together to create your desired life experiences. So journaling is really important.
Right. I mean, there's a whole section of research, or what's a classification of research based on this idea of poetry therapy, journaling therapy, all kinds of different variations of the idea of writing. One trick that I have learned that really I found very, very helpful, maybe you do this yourself. First of all, we talked about the idea of interviewing that part of yourself and saying, okay, fear, you're here. What do you want to say? Blah, blah, blah. Here's another way you can do it. You can just take exactly that same idea and personify fear on the page and write down everything that fear is telling you without even thinking about it. Just write it down. Don't judge it. Don't think about it. Just write it down. And after you've done this for 5 or 10 minutes, you can go back and you can read it. And I think what I found for myself is I often just start laughing. I say, I can't believe that this came out of me. This seems so ridiculous, And I'm not saying ridiculous as a means of judgment. It just, how can I allow myself to think such thoughts? Because they're nothing. There's no truth in any of it. Well, maybe a tiny little bit of truth. But that's another question I can ask after I've written it down. I can say, okay, I've read it. Now I've laughed about it. I've had my judgments about it. What is the deeper truth that my mind is trying to tell me?
Yes.
And that's where it's a little bit of compassion. You say, okay, my ego mind wants to keep me safe, but what's it keeping me safe from? And why is it using this method? You can learn so much about yourself using that approach.
Absolutely.
And journaling is a great tool for that.
It is. And it's a really good way of connecting back to yourself as well, because as you write what, is kind of bothering you, there's a form of release that comes from it. But what also happens on the other spectrum is our ability to channel. I believe that we are all channels in different ways. You will find that if you start practicing, you just put the pen on paper, or if you type in notes on your phone, just say, I'm just typing. See what happens. You will be able to channel really, really good information. Just ask basic questions. I mean, these days we have AI, and because I've always worked with the Akashic records, I know the power of asking the right question, because when you ask the right question, you receive the right answer, an answer that serves you. When you don't ask a right question or a clear question, you don't get quite clear answers.
That's right.
Yeah. And so just say, what do I need to know right now about this situation? And just allow your hand to write. And you will be amazed. And I believe that we all have the potential to channel information from that deeper, bigger aspect of ourselves in a way that serves us and allows us to take the next step forward in confidence. And again, confidence, that's the other side of self-doubt.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fascinating here, this idea of journaling. I mean, I'm sure we all run into this problem where I don't seem to have anything to say, right?
Yeah.
So write that down.
Yeah.
Write that down. Exactly. I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
And say it and keep saying it. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to keep writing it.
Yeah.
Keep writing it. Yeah. And then you're going to find yourself saying, I'm really getting tired of saying I have nothing to say. So write that down too. And now that you've got all that crap out of the way, what is it
Yes.
that you really want to say?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I have found that to be so helpful. I get frustrated at myself because I have nothing to say. Come on, there's got to be something. Come on, I have nothing to say. 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 And on it goes. I might write a whole page of I have nothing to say, and all of a sudden an idea pops into my head, and I say, "Oh, this is interesting."
Mm-hmm.
Well, just writing down "this is interesting" is a complete shift right there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's
And then
powerful.
ask, why do I find this interesting?
Yeah,
Ask, why do I find this interesting, and see what's coming out.
yeah,
And
exactly.
the right question will give you the right answer all the time.
Right. Yep.
And sometimes you just have to be. And if being means that you have nothing to say, like David is saying, just right, I have nothing to say. And being doesn't mean you're not doing anything. You are in such a beautiful active mode to activate the next level. So you don't diss it at all.
That's right. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So the whole thing that we've been talking about here today is self-doubt to self-confidence. And I hope you've experienced a bit of a shift for yourself as we've been speaking. I know I certainly have. I'm finding myself getting very activated because I just love my conversations with Maggie here. It's a lot of fun. So Maggie, I just want to ask you one more time to share your book, that new book that you just published.
Mm-hmm.
This is called The One Secret to Happiness by
Yes.
Maggie Sarfo, and it's available on Amazon.
Yes.
Maggie already posted a link in the chat there that goes to her link tree, and
Yep.
apparently there's a lot on that page. There's a lot of other links that'll help you find both of these books. So the Happiness Journal, fantastic books, and I really want people to go and pick those up.
Thank you,
So
David.
we're getting close to our time here, Maggie. I wonder, do you have any final words you'd like to share as we're getting ready to close out?
I will share a quote by Marianne Williamson in her poem. And the quote says, our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our biggest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Yeah, wow. I remember the first time I saw that and how it touched my heart.
Mm.
I think it's an amazing piece of wisdom that is absolutely true. And what does it mean for you?
Mm. For me?
Yeah.
For me, where I bring this quote to really motivate me to a next level is whenever I feel that fear, that hesitation to move forward, whenever I feel like I'm playing small because this thing is big, and I'm like, I go, well, this is because, so whenever I feel that pang, that little thing that says you can't do this, or who are you to do this, I go, well, like I said to you, who am I not to do this? Because there is that greater element that I'm trying to ignore, in favor of my little self. And again, whenever I have this big dream and I'm about to go for it, and I get that doubt coming in, I go, well, that is my sign that I'm meant to step onto this bigger ladder. And I remember that fear, the fear is not because I'm inadequate. The fear is because I'm powerful. So it is my power that I'm afraid of rather than my inadequacy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Inadequacy.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, fascinating conversation here today, Maggie. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It's always a joy sharing this space with you. And folks, I want to thank you for being here, watching the recording, or being here in person, as the case may be. I would like to remind you that you can watch recordings of this and every other episode on my website at magnificence.com. So I hope you'll go and check that out. And as we close out today, I want to remind you of my own personal mantra that I use every day. This is a powerful mantra for me. It's 3 sentences, easy to remember. I hope that you will take this to heart and practice it for yourself. It goes like this, real simple. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So thank you everyone for being here today. I want to wish you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. And I'll see you next time on Magnificence in Motion. Bye-bye.